All right guys, so today I'm going to be working on the rear frame, buffing it and waxing it, kind of give you guys a little walkthrough on how to do it. Just want to show you kind of how it started. Doesn't look horrible, but for those of you that have followed me on Instagram or seen my truck in person, it's been a lot cleaner. So I'm going to be walking you through what I use as far as the tools, as far as the products, kind of a rough time frame. I mean, it's probably going to take me a good, 2-3 hours to do the rear. So I'm going to turn the truck around because, as you guys can tell, it doesn't exactly fit in my garage. So I'll spin it around, back the bed into the garage, and then put it up on jack stands, take the wheels and tires off, make it a little bit easier. And then once get the inside of the wheel cleaned up. All right guys, so here's what I'll be using for the frame. So this is my trusty Bauer good old Harbor Freight special, costing like 60 bucks. It's broken, it gets used. But for the first pad, I'm gonna use this fine foam polishing pad. Obviously I'm not trying to strip anything off, just wanna clean it up a little bit. So that's the pad that I'll be starting off with. And then I'll finish off with this ultra fine foam pad, just to kind of make sure that I put on as smooth of a surface as I can. I know it's probably overkill, I get it, but having a little bit of extra protection, plus it looking good in the interim, I'm not complaining. Spots on the frame. This is what I'll be starting off with, just so I can make sure that I get everything stripped off of there and get it cleaned up. So I'll be putting this on, starting with this pad, and then I'll end up moving over to the Mazerna, which I'll apply as the sealer, let that dry for a bit, and then I'll be finishing off with some Adams graphene ceramic spray. Obviously I've used this stuff on everything. I've used a couple of these little white foam pads that I'll be using for the tougher to reach areas. Obviously, as you can tell, this is one that I used before. So I'll probably go through a couple of these this time. I mean, they come in a pack of, I believe, 4 or 5, and they're only about $6-7 bucks at O'Reilly's, but they're worth it because they do last a bit. So, and you can clean them, or just toss them and buy new ones, but really up to you. So let me get the camera set up over here, get the extension cord ran. The first thing that I'm gonna do before anything though, is I'll end up putting some of this degreaser on the terry cloth that I've got here on the microfiber. I'll be wiping everything down with this first, just to ensure that I have a good surface to work with, and I'll be moving on to all of that. All right guys, so back to it. Got the wheel and tire off. I am going to be going back through and painting a bunch of this. Be ordering some new rear control arms from Stryker Manufacturing. They have some really nice I-beam rear control arms that I think would kind of set off the rear. I'll get all that powder coated to match the McGoy's lift that I've got on here with the coils, the buckets, the sway bar end links, the bump stop spacer. So I'll have these all done up. It'll clean up under here a little bit. And then before I swap the arms, I'll go through and kind of paint everything just to clean it up. I'm not going to really use any paint up in here. Everything on the axle that is basically going to be painted. So that'll be kind of another video because this one's going to take a little bit, at least for me. So I'm going to get to work and removing this harness off the frame, kind of getting it tucked up above the frame while I work on the front face of it. And then once I go up top or as far over as I can, I'll end up pulling the harness back down, and then I'll work on everything underneath and then move to the inside. So for now, I'm going to focus on the outside, just to kind of get it cleaned up and wiped down. I'll get to work on this first, and then once I get all this done, I guess in between coats, in between stages, I'll get to work on the inner fender liner. Obviously a lot easier to do right now. All that I'll do by hand. I'm probably not going to go through and do any of this polish wise, but I'll get it all cleaned up with some of the Adams prep spray, and then I'll get the try the Mazerna sealer on here in one spot. I'm not sure how that's going to turn out. I've never actually done it on here, but on the plastic before. So I'll give that a shot, and then if that ends up working, I'll do the whole fender liner in that, wait for that to cure and dry up, and then I'll go back over with that Adams graphene spray just to make sure that it's got a little bit more protection and looks a little bit better. So let me get to wiping everything down, and then I'll get everything hooked up as far as the little buffer goes, and we'll go to town and see what we can do. Now, I know this is kind of weird, right? I put a slight bend in this flathead that I've got. You'd be surprised how much easier it is, for me at least, to use this when I'm pulling up any kind of Christmas trees or any kind of fasteners that hold any of the harnesses on, or when taking apart the grill. It's kind of nice to get this underneath there and then use the trim prying tools. A lot of folks just go straight to this, but this is just kind of what I do. It's kind of my is. You can unplug this harness if you wanted to get it totally out of the way. I'm probably gonna end up doing that just so I can move the harness up front. And I'll show you guys right inside here, you've got your plugs, so you can undo those. And then you've got 2 more clips that you got to take off. And then I'm gonna take this off and get it out of the way, just so that way I don't have to worry about ruining the integrity of it. Obviously the last thing I want to do is ruin a factory harness, because Lord knows those are probably not very cheap. So let's get these unplugged. I think this actually looks kind of neat. Looks kind of good. I mean, it's not done, but I mean, it's already a pretty big difference from what it was before to now. Okay, so I'll just throw some on this pad right here on the one side that I haven't done anything with yet, and I'll get to work on some of the finer areas, tougher to reach with the buffer, I should say. Kind of do the same thing. Just kind of evenly spread it out. Don't want this stuff flinging everywhere. Let's get it done. All right, guys, so I kind of messed up in the order of things. So I'm gonna actually use this little compound on the finer pad on the old Bauer Harbor Freight Special. So I'm gonna use this and go over the majority of this and then wipe it down, let it sit for a little bit. And then I'm gonna actually do the Adams ceramic first, and I'm gonna end up using the Mazerna sealer on it. So I'm gonna hit the areas that I wasn't able to get with the buffer wheel. So that'll kind of entail up in here, obviously back in here on where the mount is, on the front and back side of the mount for the rear track bar, and then up inside here, again to that cross member that I've been kind of going to, using that as kind of a guide. All right, guys, so now I'm going to be using what's left in this bottle of the graphene ceramic spray from Adams. I do have an applicator pad, and then I got a new pack of this stuff. Just trying to use up what I've already got. I do keep the applicator pads kind of sealed up so it doesn't get all dry and crusty after I'm using them. But I'm basically just going to spray that stuff on here, and I'm just going to apply it. I mean, as easy as it gets. And I think the nice thing about this little applicator pad is that it'll help me get into kind of the smaller, tighter areas without compromising, losing out on coverage. So let me get this stuff sprayed on here. I'm going to let it cure for about 10 to 15 minutes. And then I'll get the wheel liner cleaned up, and I'm going to do the same thing in the wheel liner. So the goal is, by the time that I get done doing this section of frame in here with the ceramic coating and letting it cure, the goal is to hopefully be able to get this cleaned up, get this all coated up underneath here, including the little mud guard here, and then obviously the trim piece over here. So when I get done wiping that down, I can just kind of move into this as well. So that's the plan. So let's see if it works. I mean, so far, I got to tell you, I'm pretty impressed with the outcome. All right, guys and gals, so this is what I'm going to be using on the wheel liner, Adams Prep Spray. Just got a microfiber here. I'm going to spray it on the actual rag itself and wipe it on, because I don't want to get this stuff on the frame that I just got done coating. So I'll get this stuff sprayed on here. It's a pretty legit kit. I mean, it comes with the fresh spray. I got the ceramic coating that's in the bottle, the glass bottle, as well as the spray bottle. So it is a pretty legit setup, and it comes with a couple of nice microfibers, some weighted towels, obviously all the stuff that you need to effectively use their product and make sure that you ensure that you have the cleanest surface possible. But I'm gonna get this all wiped on and cleaned off, and then I'm gonna apply that ceramic spray just like I did on the frame, right inside here. All right, guys, it's been about 15 minutes. I did the wheel liner as well as the plastics down here, so I'm gonna go ahead and wipe it all off now, or I guess wipe it down. I did this little plastic piece back here just as kind of a test piece, because if it turns out it doesn't look the way that I want it to, this is easy to replace. And if it works well on this, then I'll do the rest of the plastics. Again, just to kind of give it a little bit extra protection, but I did inside the fender flare as well. Again, just so that way all the way around inside here is cleaned up, shined up, and protected. All right, let's take a look. So, what do you guys think? Looks pretty good. And then obviously the wheel liner. I mean, it just looks better. And honestly, I did this little plastic mudguard piece down here too, and even that looks better. So I may do a little research tonight to see if the Mazurna can actually be used on plastics, but I mean, it actually looks pretty good. So even just that little piece, and then obviously you've got the wheel liner, and then there's the frame. So here's what I'm gonna try. So I took this back bolt out of the rear fender liner. So I'm gonna try to run the wiring harness right above the little crease on the fender liner and see if I can run it up there and then drop it down and see if I have enough slack, which I actually do. So I can actually clean that up. I'm gonna run it up here. I don't know if you guys can see it. Up here. And I'm gonna use these little holes existing in the bed. And then I'm gonna run it over this piece where the fender liner mounts to, and then drop it down there to the plugs. I don't know if that's gonna work, but it beats staring at it, and it gets it out of the way. It's still out of the element. So I'm gonna try to take off all these little Christmas trees and then save them in the event that I do have to go get some new ones or try to reuse. So once I get these off and mounted up here, I'll get some Christmas trees to kind of pop into these little holes right here to kind of cover them up for now. That's where the these little bad boys, that's where the factory, these all went into. But I believe I've got enough up here, I don't know if you guys can see it, to hold the harness up there and then tuck it up above here, and then I'll drop it down back over here, reuse this hole in the frame to secure the plugs, and then it's out of the way. So I'll let you guys know if it works. I did take the harness that originally kind of ran down through here and kind of ran down around, yada, 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 and I actually tucked it up behind the wheel liner. There's actually two little holes. I'll probably end up taking the wheel liner out and drilling a third just for additional stability. But I ended up kind of securing the harness up there with some zip ties. It's not kinked at all. There's no crimps in it. I don't know if you can see it back up in there. But yeah, it actually ended up turning out to be pretty nice. I left that clip on back there on the harness just for safety's sake in case I need to strap it down. But I kind of checked and then ran it up in there. It actually sits above this bolt right here where the rear part of the fender liner actually mounts to the bed, and then I just dropped it down back through here. So everything still works. There's plenty of slack in the line. There's nothing pinching or infringing on the performance of it. It clipped in back over here with that Christmas tree. Wires are all good to go, snap back on the frame, so they're all done. So it's kind of nice because I've wanted to clean up this section of frame as far as that wiring goes for a while now, so I was able to finally do it. So I think the end result looks pretty good. Even if this is kind of still showing quite a bit or a little bit, I'm okay with that. All right, guys, so here is the final product with the wheel and tire on, just to kind of give you guys a better idea of how much of it's actually visible. Pretty much everything. So one of the reasons why I did what I did was obviously to clean it up, because you do see so much of it with the wheel and tire on there. All right, guys, so here is the finished product. I do have the little trim clips in there. I'll make sure to grab the part number. Obviously, it's been raining for the last few days, so it's not clean. So forgive me on that, but you guys get the idea as far as the wheel liner and the frame goes. I believe I put 8 of these in on the passenger side, and then I did 2 more on the driver's side. So I will make sure to get a picture of the clips so you guys can actually know which ones I used, and then I'll post that up on here as well. And then here's the driver's side. So I am still trying to figure out what size clips to run inside here, but these are the 2 additional clips that I ended up using. So I did buy 11 just to be on the safe side. So I've got 8 on the driver's side, or I'm sorry, 2 on the driver's side and 8 on the passenger side. But even through the dirt and all the crap in here from it raining, you can still get a pretty good idea. It turned out pretty clean. So all right, guys, so as promised, this is the packaging. These are the Dorman clips that I used to fill in the open spots on the frame on both the driver and passenger side. Like I said, I got 10 of these. Actually, I've got a pack of, I got 3 packs, the last 3 packs that the old O'Reilly's had by me. So, but these are them. So if you guys want, and you want to fill those in, if you end up moving the harness on there, you just want to fill in some of the open spots, because there's plenty of other spots on the frame that are open so it can breathe and let all the water and moisture come out of there. These are them. So I hope you guys liked the video.